Huh? Well, we should be on. We'll see if it pops up on my phone to say volume. It should be within the next 30 seconds. Hey, tell me when you see Peter Tatchell because I want to interview him. Oh, yeah. He's one of the main, isn't he? He's what? He's one of the main speakers, the main speaker today, isn't it?
I came out with you. Wow.
So they only come out to you? La la la. So come round, Steve, come round. Let's engage with some people. So good afternoon all, turn the volume down a bit. Hey Steve, you can hold this. Because I know you like
to look important.
The Colt's back. Hey, we're live, man, so I don't want you coughing in my thing there. So, Steve, if you look into the camera, I'm not worried about her. So, if you look in the camera, sir. So, Steve, good afternoon, sir.
Is it now afternoon?
Yeah,
probably very nearly is.
So, we're nearly afternoon, sir.
6 minutes to.
So, what are you doing down here, boss?
I heard there was a cameraman down there, so I thought I'd come and stand in front of his camera.
So did the cameraman send you a link this morning?
I guess he did, yes.
Yeah, so why did you decide to come down here today, knowing that so many rebels are going to be out wanting to abolish the monarchy? So
because it's a beautiful sunny
day.
Sunday morning. I had to think to get that out. And it's too early.
You got a hangover?
No, I haven't. I had one pint last night.
Yeah, but Steve didn't say pint of what? What did you have a pint of?
Amstel.
And what's that? I don't drink
Dutch lager.
Oh, I don't drink alcohol. But Steve, we're now down here, yeah, and this is an event being arranged by Peter Tatchell.
Is it?
Yeah,
it's Republic organised, isn't it? I think he's just a guest. Sorry.
Oh, was he a guest? Oh, sorry, sir. I've just been corrected by Steve, and it's obvious I haven't done my
republic.org.uk to
plug their
website.
I thought it was part of that. But why do you believe, or don't you believe, that the monarchy should be abolished? Because I'm going to give you unusually my view. Yeah, I think King Charles has been a role model. I think King Charles is brilliant. The way, he cheated on Diana. The way he brought his sons up. He is a role model. And I don't want to see the monarchy abolished. I know Harry loves him. Harry's coming into the country.
He's coming back. He's coming home. He's coming home. He's coming home.
So why should we be abolishing the great monarchy who has raped African nations, Asian nations, and the West Indies? Why should we abolish such an institution?
Blah, blah,
What do you mean blah, 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 blah? Listen to this.
We should not abolish them. You know, when I was young and foolish, I thought
not long ago.
I thought like these fools. Yeah, get rid of them, put them in a council house. Then I grew up. You know, there's a sign over there saying "Change the country for good." How would getting rid of the monarchy change the country for good? What jot of difference would it make to Britain? I can think of a load of negative impacts. What one good change would getting rid of the monarchy bring Britain and its people?
I'll give you one example. Yesterday, I was at the Barbados High Commission. Yeah. And last year, I had the opportunity to interview the first president of Barbados. The Queen or the King was the head of state. We've now got rid of them. We've now got a directly elected president who is there for the people. So that's one advantage.
Well, you say that's an advantage.
That is an advantage. It's democracy in action.
Well,
the people who
what
lead us.
may or may not be an advantage for Barbados, I'm not sure that's directly linked to whether it would be
I'm just giving an example
for the mother nation of the United Kingdom.
Hold on, are you telling me that
we are the mummy?
Yeah, whatever. You're the rapist. You took our wealth.
Well, again, whether that's true or not.
What do you mean whether?
How will abolishing the monarchy today change whether that is true or not true?
No.
What one jot of impact will that have?
No, it doesn't. But what I'm saying, going forward, looking at future generations...
Well, they're not raping now, are they?
No, they still are. And I'll give you a prime example. Yesterday at the High Commission, yet again, the Minister of Finance said clearly...
For Barbados.
That specifically to Barbados. This gives an example, yeah. When the British took over the island 400 years ago next year, yeah, what they did, the education system, yeah, was built it in such a way it discriminated against the masses, but it was only there because they do a thing called an 11 plus, and with the 11 plus, it's designed that only a few people come out of the education system to work for the government.
Well, it depends. Wow.
No.
Hey, if that's the threshold they set for working
and it's very high. And it's very high.
But it's within their control where to set the threshold.
No, but
both for government working or for entering grammar school.
No, of course. But at this moment in time, the system, the education system.
What's that got to do with the monarchy?
No, I'm telling you, the education system, the legal system, is built on the British rule, which is still there 400 years after the fact. The system takes a long time to change. Yeah, so let's get rid of the monarchies and start changing systems.
It can change or not change under a monarchy. It can change or not change without a monarchy.
They're not
linked. They're not fundamentally linked. There might be some historic link, but now today there is no direct causal link. So now Barbados has got rid of the monarchy. They've got their own state. And what's happened to the education system? They got rid of grammar schools automatically because they got rid of the monarchy?
No, but there is a plan. No, it is linked. There is a plan to get rid of the 11 plus.
But they could have done that even under the monarchy.
No.
I don't know, does Australia has a grammar school system?
I don't know.
Does every single country in the Commonwealth have a grammar school system?
I don't know. Our final arbiter in the legal process, is the court just down the road there. We want our own systems, but the point being made, the hands of the royal family, the hands of the empire has been there for so long. So let's start abolishing these people.
Today, what impact are the hands of the monarchy having on you or on I? A little bit of tax, a minute bit of tax, I'll give you that. But apart from that, what impact, what hands, what control,
I think it's a very positive impact.
I think a positive impact. Their presence, absolutely. I knew you did. Really, you're just playing devil's advocate. We all know the huge value. I mean, Queen Elizabeth II,
God rest her soul.
Yeah, we all know she was an incredible, calming, measured figurehead for this country. You know, whatever strife we were going through, lockdowns, political strikes, whatever, she was always there. She was a hugely calming influence. And I struggle to think that any of these numpties around there supporting Republic could personally fault her, criticise her.
Can I add on there? Yeah. When the Queen's late husband, the Duke, passed. Myself and Piers Corbyn were the first two people outside of the palace. And I was out there live streaming. Piers Corbyn was there. I just met him there. It was just a coincidence.
Right.
Yeah. We were the first. There was a few people there, but not the thousands. It was literally when we got there, about 100 people. We were and I felt it was important because I was doing a funeral at the time to go down there to show my respect to the husband, the late husband of the Queen. When Her Majesty passed, I did the same thing again. Yeah, because I heard and I can sense with all the royal family flying in to Scotland, Balmoral, and they were telling us she's dead. So what I did, I made my way to the palace and I started streaming. As soon as I started streaming, the flag came down to half-mast, and I captured that. So I was there. So I went to show my respect.
What a massively historic and just significant moment that was.
Yeah, of course.
The entire psyche of the country was impacted hugely. So again, obviously these numpties have their right to say what they want and protest and what's the word? Campaign against the monarchy, but they are a tiny, tiny minority. Tiny, insignificant minority. And the vast swathes of the British public are so behind our royal family, are so supportive of the royal family. And going on to Charles, so most people think Elizabeth did a fantastic job.
That's correct.
But I know there was much, including amongst my own thoughts, doubts and concerns what job Prince Charles would do. But I think most of us think, actually, in the early time of his reign, he's doing a pretty good job.
But let's chat prior to his reign. He's Prince Charles. He's the next in line to the throne. He's married a beautiful woman, Princess Diana. And he's giving some horse. He's giving a horse some food.
Beauty is only skin deep. Love sees through everything.
But he brought shame on the royal family by what he done to Princess Diana.
I would say it just demonstrates they're human.
Oh my God!
They're not reptiles. They're not lizards.
Some people think
I know, exactly. They are human beings. They have relationships. They have relationship breakups. SHIT happens. It happens to them, whether it's prostate cancer or whether it's divorcing your missus.
No, but we'll come to that in a moment. But we get the impression that's created of that, but the royal family, they got blue blood, just like StreetMic. Yeah, we're told that they show no emotions. We're told that that they're up there, and they should be as the king of this country, he should be showing respect. He's the king, and he's cheating on his woman. What is that sending out to people?
I'm Graham Smith.
It's not ideal, it's not perfect, but
it
happens.
Is going to be introducing the speakers throughout the afternoon. We are here till 3 o'clock.
We'll come back.
And we're here until the monarchy is abolished.
He's going to be here a long time. He's going to be here a long time.
God save us from the king. We won't be serving him. He's not our king. Send him to Rwanda. I'm only joking. Just take him out of Buckingham Palace, that's enough. No one should go to Rwanda. I see over there my Sikh brother with his sign about the Kohinoor diamond. Can you hear me? Mr. Over there, Kohinoor diamond. Raise it high. What does that sign tell us? Because me, I'm the child of immigrants, second generation immigrant. This guy as well, with his Kohinoor diamond sign. What that tells us is that the royalty is not just something which has been oppressing the British working class for centuries, which it very much is, and it has been oppressing the British working class for centuries, but it's also got a global aspect to it. It was the figurehead of this country as it went out and dominated and did all the things it did, and all the wealth stolen from different corners of the world didn't go to many of the British people, but went to this one family hanging out in Buckingham Palace and the people surrounding them. And this is not who we are. This is not what we want to represent. We don't want to represent hierarchy. We don't want to represent domination. We don't want to represent a class system. We don't want to represent an empire. We want to represent equality. We want to represent freedom. We want to represent welcoming people, diversity, all of these things. And so that's why we're here today. We're here today to say that the monarchy and the ideals of the monarchy and the ideas of hereditary power and wealth are not what we stand for, and are not what we believe in, and are not what we want. And so republic, can you say it with me? Republic! 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 Not my king! Not my king! Not my king! Not my king! Send him to Rwanda! That's my little ad-lib. But, okay, cool. So, across Europe as well, we have these monarchies, and of course, everyone knows that they were all related to each other, all friends, this, that, the rest. The Tsar of Russia was, I believe, cousins with the King of England. And it's just a bit of a cartel, isn't it, at the end of the day? It's just a bit of a, it's just a bit of an old boys club. And we're supposed to sit there and worship it. And again, I bring it back to our friend Koh-i-Noor Diamond. When we see the rhetoric which is pushed about, oh, wow, the British flag, the British this, the British that, and it's tied to the ideas of the monarchy. This type of nationalism which is based on the idea of bowing down and being a subject. Not a citizen, but a subject. What does that mean if you're a subject? Just like we were subjects of the British Empire, you were subjects of the British King. It means that you are not a citizen. It's the opposite of being a citizen. A little lesson in political theory for you guys, since I got a bit of time before the first speaker. A little lesson in political theory. We used to have political theorists back in the days when things like the French Revolution were going on. One of them was called Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes basically said that if there was no strong monarchy, if there was no strong monarch at the head of society, life would be nasty, poor, brutish and short. If you don't have a king, if you don't have someone ruling over you who can tell you what to do, your life is going to be nasty, poor and brutish and short. Because without someone to tell you what to do and to make sure that the peasants get in line, oh, we're all going to be out there killing each other and fighting with each other and murdering each other and living horrible lives. Do you guys think that's true? Do we need Mr. Charles to tell us what to do? Do we need Mr. Charles to keep us in line? No? I can't hear you guys. No. We don't, do we? We don't. Personally, I don't need any sausage fingers in my life. But let me keep it friendly. So if that's not the society we need, if Thomas Hobbes was wrong, then what kind of society instead do we build? There's been plenty of people with different answers. You had your Rousseaus who believed in things like the social contract. You had your anarchists who believed that people could just get together without any kind of government whatsoever. You have all sorts of different ideas, all sorts of different thoughts, an intellectual playground. But what most people with any reasonable level of critical thinking in their bodies can agree on is that having one family at the head of everything, who only are in power because their parents were in power, and whose parents were only in power because their parents were in power, and whose grandparents were only in power because their grandparents were in power, is not a reasonable system. And whether it's constitutional or not, it's silly. When you look at history, and this is another thing which ties us back to our friend Koh-i-Noor Diamond. Our friend Koh-i-Noor Diamond over in the corner. Can you raise that a bit higher? There we go. Stolen from a Sikh king. When we look back at that part of our history, when we look back at our relationship with India, when we look back at our relationship with Africa, sometimes we like to hide things, sometimes we like to forget things. And then we like to, instead in our history classes, what do we like to learn? What do we all know? Sing it with me. Divorced, beheaded. Divorced, beheaded. Survived. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded. So everyone knows that. Everyone knows about the way in which Henry VIII got rid of his various wives, right? Everyone knows about why we have the Anglican Church in this country, because someone thought that he wanted a younger model, right? everyone knows this history. We're all taught this history. And we know, if we look back at it, we think, well, that's a bit stupid, isn't it? That the entire religious institutions of our country are based on someone wanting a divorce. That's a bit stupid, isn't it? That a man had so much power that he could chop off the heads of 2 of his wives, some of which were very, very young when he did it. That's a bit grim, isn't it? That's a bit of a nasty history, isn't it? But we celebrate that history, and we continue the institutions that are legacies of that history. And we think, well, even if we're not a formal monarchy anymore, they don't have any power. It's our history. It's our history, for goodness sake. We need to keep the constitutional element of it because it's our history to have unelected dictators ruling over us. Is that a history that we want to preserve? Is that a history we want to keep the institutions of? Is that a history worth celebrating? No, just like our history with Mr. Cohen or Diamond is not a history worth celebrating. We need to teach ourselves real history. We need to reason with the real history of this country. And we need to stop using institutions like the monarchy, using blind nationalism, using the ideas of jingoism. I don't know if you know what jingoism means. It basically means blind nationalism, rallying behind empty symbols and empty ideas to distract and put the emphasis on people like me and on scapegoats and say, well, these are your problems. These are your problems. This is what's causing problems in the country, rather than a class system at the head of which is Mr. Charles and the family. Not my king, say it with me, not my king, not my king, not my king, not my king. Abdicate, 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 abdicate. That's it, exactly. We shouldn't have a system in which you only abdicate because you want to get married to an American divorcee. We should have a system where they all abdicate, and we don't have any royals running over us at all. We don't have a family sat at the head of this city, of this planet, and that kind of history is not the history that we want. Now, what time are we at? Because I know our first speaker is supposed to come on at 20 past. Oh, where's my... here it is. Cool, we've got... Okay, cool. Should I introduce that now? Okay, cool. So we have a video here, a little story, and yeah. So enjoy the video, and then we'll keep rolling with the event. So again, a man who needs no introduction, but we'll give him an introduction anyway. A man who's been working and heading up Republic and pushing against the monarchy for years now, Graham Smith.
Thank you, everyone. This is a huge moment for us. First ever Republic Day. It will not be the last. We will have Republic Days every year on this anniversary of the coronation, on this anniversary of Charles being anointed our head of state, refusing to stand for election, and we will keep on going until the monarchy is abolished. And we need to talk to more people about why we want to abolish the monarchy, because it is bigger than simply changing our head of state. It is bigger than simply not having Charles. Although we do not want Charles, we do want a choice. We do want to be able to elect our head of state and have a better, fairer, more equitable democracy. And we want to do this for so many reasons, not least because the monarchy stands against our values. It stands against our principles. It stands against equality and fairness and democracy. It believes and celebrates the idea that there is a natural hierarchy at which they are at the top. And the idea that Charles is at the top of any natural hierarchy is clearly nonsense. But we need to send that message to him and to the whole monarchy and to everybody in this country until everyone says, yes, it is time to change the country for good, it is time to abolish the monarchy, and it is time to elect our head of state. We want a constitution and a system and a politics and a democracy which actually celebrates our very best principles and values, that puts them at the heart of everything we do. Because this won't just be a matter of principle, it will change the way we govern ourselves and therefore change the society and the way that we see ourselves, not as subjects but as citizens. We should have no entry signs on any of our public lines. There should be no institutions, whether it's the Lords or the monarchy, where we are not allowed in, where we have no say in who is going to be on that throne or who is going to be in the upper chamber. This is not how democracy should work. And we are forced to compromise our values and principles. We talk about corruption in politics. We talk about the abuse of public life. We talk about the abuse of public money. We talk about lobbying behind closed doors. We talk about it with the politicians. We criticise the government for these things. We criticise MPs for spending thousands of pounds on second homes. We criticise Angela Rayner for spending £1,500 on not paying taxes she should have paid, but we don't criticise William for spending £4.5 million of our money on doing up not his second home or his third home, but his fourth home. We don't criticise Charles for having a dozen homes. We don't criticise Charles, the environmentalist, for flying everywhere by helicopter. We don't criticise William, the environmentalist, for flying everywhere by helicopter. We listen to the journalists who tell us that Charles is a workaholic, even though he does barely a thing. We listen to journalists who talk about William going back to work so that he could do one quick trip down the road and back to his life of leisure after that. We need to challenge the monarchy and the royals because it is a corrupt institution. They are lazy people, they have not earned their position, and they need to be kicked out. And when they are gone, then we can build a democracy that we can all have a stake in and all be proud of and all choose everybody in our parliament and our head of state and know that we are responsible for those decisions. And yes, we might get it wrong. Yes, we might choose someone who is no good, but then we can choose someone else later. But the idea that Ireland, or little Iceland of less than 500,000 people, or Germany, or Finland, or Austria can choose their head of state and can do it well, have inspirational, great heads of state. Iceland was the first country in the world to democratically elect a woman as their head of state in 1980. And at that time we were being told we were lucky to have Queen Elizabeth on the throne, and that we were lucky to have her 10 years later and 10 years after that. We should be the ones electing great heads of state, and the idea that we can't do that from a population of 65 million people is clearly nonsense. just as the nonsense of tourism. The idea that all the people that are here today and down the road looking at the palace, or down the other road looking at Parliament, or down on the South Bank today, that they have come here because we don't elect our head of state, is clearly nonsense. And clearly, the one thing that annoys me the most about monarchists, people who support this stupid institution, is that they say that without it, we would be a dull country, that we wouldn't be able to bring the tourists in, as if we rely on this one tedious family to bring people in, that we don't have the creativity, the ingenuity, the genius and the brilliance to bring all these people in anyway, that we can't thrive economically and socially and politically without Charles dressing up in ridiculous uniforms and sitting on ridiculous thrones. We can, of course, thrive, and we can thrive better if we do not have this nonsense holding us back, telling us that we should live in our past rather than strive for a more democratic future. And there are so many issues where changing our constitution, getting rid of the monarchy, is going to make us more democratic, and therefore mean that when we solve other problems, it will be easier and the solutions will be more egalitarian. We are struggling to deal with our historic legacy of colonialism and slavery, and part of the reason is because people don't want to point the finger at the royal family. The royal family who, from the days of James I, were absolutely instrumental in promoting, funding, sponsoring and investing in the slave trade, who celebrated empire. These are people who are absolutely at the heart of the slave trade and empire, and people are loath to look at those that legacy because they're loath to point the finger at the family who want to celebrate and be applauded because of their 1,000-year history. But when you point to what that 1,000-year history actually looks like, they don't want to know. Not me, Gov. Well, it is you, Gov, and you're still sitting on billions of pounds of untaxed money which was inherited down the line from when they were invested in slavery. But also issues of environmentalism, of equality, of social and economic justice are going to be easier to deal with in a more democratic society, where we instill in our national ethos and in our institutions the notion that we, the people, as citizens, not subjects, we are the ones who are going to make the decisions. We are not going to simply be going to the polls once every 4 years or 5 years to choose the people that then make those decisions for us without us having any say. So this is about empowering the people. It's about shifting power from government to parliament and from parliament to people so that we can have a more egalitarian, more equitable and more democratic society. So it is about abolishing the monarchy, and it has to be about abolishing the monarchy for so many reasons. And there is not one good reason or one good argument in defence of the monarchy. It is a wretched, rotten constitutional institution that needs to be gone, and gone for good. And when it is gone, we will be more democratic, and we will change the country for good.
Okay, so we have here Floris Müller, chair of the Dutch Republican movement.
My dear British friends, my dear Republican friends, walking around this morning across Trafalgar Square, talking with the people, seeing the flags, seeing so many Republicans out here in the centre of London, listening to the debates, I feel so incredibly proud. Proud of what the Republican movement here in Britain has done over the last couple of years. Proud of the reasonable voice that you have in this debate over the monarchy. I'm really proud, and I'm looking forward to so many more days like this. The Dutch Republican Society over the last couple of years has learned so much from the British campaign. We've learned about fundraising, about organising, about campaigning, about getting out on the street day after day, and telling about the alternative of the Republic. Our movement has had a same development like the British. We've had times where we were small. I remember 7 years ago joining the Dutch Republican movement. I had an interview with the big Dutch news agency, and I had to debate with a monarchist journalist. And she said, as I said, let's get rid of the traditions around the monarchy. She called me reckless. She said, your organization is still small with just a couple of thousands of followers. Only 30% of the Dutch are in favor of the Republic. She said, I was an idealist, I was a dreamer. She said, if you are fighting the monarchy, that's rebellious. Well, if fighting the monarchy is rebellious, let me introduce myself. I am a rebel, I am a Republican. Over the last couple of years, like the Dutch, the British Republican movement has been growing. It has been growing. More and more people are joining Republic for good. Your organization is growing. The polls are dropping. The monarchy is not popular anymore. It's just 55%, like in the Netherlands, where only half of the population is in favor of the monarchy. More and more journalists out here are hearing you. You are becoming part of the national debate. But still, there is a downside. There is a downside in becoming more popular, being heard more. Over the last couple of months, I've done a lot of interviews in the Netherlands, and journalists have been telling me, well, I agree, but more and more just average Dutchmen have said, we are for the Republic, but it's too hard. It's too hard to get rid of the monarchy. We've become mainstream. And in that, we have not become that interesting anymore. There's a risk where our fight for the Republic ends in nobody being happy with the monarchy, but nothing changing. I can tell them, yes, maybe we are becoming mainstream. Maybe people do agree, and maybe change is getting very hard. But I am still reckless. I am still a rebel. And I am still a republic until the moment that the Netherlands becomes a republic, Britain becomes a republic, and all these other monarchies in Europe are toppled. Thank you very much for having me today.
Okay. Where's Mr. Corino gone? I like his sign. He's disappeared. Cool. Well, I think we're waiting on a dinosaur. However, I do have to say, by the fountain, there's a man with a badge. Can you wave? And he's got a badge on his jersey. And for me, I think that links again to what we were speaking about before. The idea that monarchy and its legacy is not just something that affects us, but it's something worldwide. And it's something which we can make partnerships with.
So for those of you who are watching, good afternoon. My name is Wendell Daniel, and welcome to StreetMic, and we're coming to you live and direct from Trafalgar Square. And this is the Republic.
Does anyone know where
King Charles isn't my king? And we are going to be here until 1 p.m. And I'm actually, Atheist Steve is down here as well. And I will be shutting down here at roughly 1 p.m. and then making my way via the bus just over the road to Speaker's Corner. And we should be back live at
King George Street. And it wasn't always called King George Street.
2 p.m. So
it's called King George Street because of the history.
Going to be making our way towards Speaker's Corner at 1 p.m. So we're only here for a little while, but Peter Tatchell should be
in plenty of places
Peter
worldwide.
Patchell should
Not too
be
long ago, I was on Good Morning Britain. And they were
arriving
asking me,
soon.
well, should people across the Commonwealth, should people across
And I'm
the Commonwealth
hoping-
be pledging allegiance to the King? Are
Hay
they really
fever.
going to
And I'm hoping to engage with him, but
are we going to
if
get them
he's
to
here
pledge that? I said, well, you expect
after
people
1
in
o'clock,
Australia
I'm
to be
shutting
like going,
down
good day, mate, yeah,
and
pledge
I'm
my
gone. But
allegiance
if
to
this
Charles
is the first time
100%.
you've seen
You
StreetMic,
think
give it a
Jamaicans
thumbs
are going to
up,
be there in
make
Jamaica?
your comments down
Big
below,
man Charles,
share
Big man Charles,
and follow.
I pledge my allegiance to Big man Charles. No, people across the so-called Commonwealth don't want a random old dude in the UK as their head of state either. It's a point of commonality between people worldwide, between children of the empire and yourselves. The monarchy is used as a symbol to make you think that you are different, you are British. You are British. You have these lords and ladies ruling over you. You're part of Britain. And you have nothing to do with these people in other places. Well, no, they are also subjects. And they have also been subjects of the British Empire and the British monarchy.
Hey, good afternoon.
Now, I don't quite know what's going on with our program. I don't quite know where where Graham is at the moment. But until the next speaker comes, I guess we'll just continue. We'll continue to. So we've got a few videos coming up in a few minutes. Indeed. Mr. Corino, come. Come. I want everyone to see this sign. Does anyone know what the Kohinoor is? Who knows what the Kohinoor is? The diamond. Where is that diamond? Where is the diamond, my friend? In the crown jewels. Does it come from the UK? Where does it come from? India. Okay. So, why is it in our crown jewels? And is it a Kohinoor diamond for you guys? Has it been sold and used to fund the NHS? Has it been sold and used to fund the public railway system? Has it been utilised for the good of the British people? That in a crown. What is a crown? It sits on someone who makes them think they're better than other people.
So I think the
right?
speaker is just
Why do we need crowns?
making
Full of
time,
jewels,
wasting time.
Robbed
So let
from
me try
India
and...
South Africa, etc., etc. We don't. We need commonality.
You're up for an interview, my
We need
dears?
to understand
Don't be
that we are
scared.
citizens.
So if you look
not just of the
so I'm
UK,
live at the moment,
but
so
citizens of the
good
world.
afternoon, what's your name?
That we're brothers and sisters, and that we don't need monarchs.
Say that again?
We don't need despots. We don't
So
need
Susan,
to sit
yeah.
here and say, "Oh, in
Do you
North
love
Korea, they
King Charles?
propagandise
Do you
their
love the
people,"
king?
And then read in the Daily Mail paper, and the Queen died, a rainbow appeared in the sky.
It's a fairy tale.
A rainbow appeared in the sky, and the horses descended, and the rain fell upon the great
I just
people.
know that it's wrong. Face for it.
So, in North Korea, they propagandize their people, but here, when the Daily Mail tells you
So when you say it's
the most
wrong,
important
tell
thing
me
this
why
week
you believe
is that
the
William
monarchy
went to
is wrong.
Asda.
Because there's nothing
William went to
special
Asda.
about these people.
Not Waitrose,
they're in the
Asda.
situation
Oh, Lord.
they're in because
Or-
people didn't know any better years
or,
ago.
well, we don't know where Kate's been,
they
but-
respected or feared the monarchy.
Or that
And
Meghan
then
Markle,
when
of course,
it became, not powerful.
eats avocados.
That's our
She eats avocados, and you know that
People
avocados
still
are linked
seem
to the
think
Mexican
they're special,
cartels.
and they're really not. They
It's
know
nonsense.
that because
It's
we
fodder
know
for the
more about
tabloids.
them, because of journalism,
It's celebrity gossip.
then we know that they do
Celebrity
things
gossip.
that are wrong.
I mean, what else are
They're
they?
not held to account.
Celebrities.
Do you think Charles
The
has been
original
a role
celebrities of the
model
world, that's what we're
in
told.
regards
The
to
original
how he's
celebrities
brought up his
of the world.
children, how he
When you
cheated
read,
on his
you're
wife,
going
how
through,
he
you
got
think, oh, this
divorced,
person's a bit
how
better
he
than
had an
me.
affair?
Oh.
Has he been a role model?
I like myself a bit of
actually
Beyonce, they're
was
better than me, they're
here for
interesting, they've got
Coronation,
glitzy,
and I
glamorous
actually
lives.
pulled out when
I can
they
look
had
up and
the part
aspire
of
to them.
Coronation where he's
The
defending
original
faith.
celebrities.
I said he can't.
The royal
he's an
family.
adulterer. He
And
can't
so,
be. How can
I
he
think
do
we're ready
that?
for some
When he
videos
knew
now.
He would have to stand in the role of defending
They'll be up on the
faith.
big screen.
And on,
I'll leave you to them, and then we're going to have
their
some more
children.
speakers in a little
It's
while.
absolutely abhorrent that they are actually groomed the eldest child to be something they won't necessarily want to be, and I think that's actually worse than just the monarchy themselves is that we don't even question that, and someone like Catherine Middleton, Wales, I guess her surname now, would obviously loves her children, but she's going along with this, and she's not royal, as whatever that blue blood or whatever it is. They're very watered down now.
What are you looking forward for this gathering to achieve today? So what do you think this will achieve? Because I was expecting thousands to be out on the streets, but at the moment it's very small.
Yeah, I actually thought it might be small, more because it was a rally rather than a protest.
Yeah.
But I've come myself. It's it's an effort to come, buy a train ticket and stuff. But I think if people can get here, it all helps. I don't know how much this will get out to people who are not interested either way. But we can't give up. I mean, I admire Graham Smith so much for doing this for 20 years. I've only been 3 or last 3 years. But now I just think any opportunity to bring it to people's attention. Even if we're going to capture the attention of people walking through here today, the marquee's brilliant with the information. I can't believe we won't, change anyone's mind. There must be people who just thought, I never thought about it. I think that sometimes it's just people who never thought about it.
Excellent. Thank you very much, my darling. Thank you. So as we can hear from the young lady I just spoke to just now, she's not too happy with King Charles, and I'm going to try and get some words with atheist Steve, who's actually here with me at this moment in time. And in a few moments I'm actually going to be leaving with Steve because we are going to Speaker's Corner. So Steve, if you come round, sir. And I didn't get the chance to ask you earlier on about Reform UK. So you're down here, geezer, you're celebrating because King Charles is a great person.
Absolutely.
And you believe.
I believe
That he does, or the royal family does such great things for this country, true or not?
Britain is much, much greater because of them.
But why? Tell everyone why you believe Britain is much greater because of the royal family.
Because despite what we've just heard from that stage, thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions over years of tourists come to Britain to see them, to see their palaces, but to see them specifically, because there's a specific event on with the royal family attending. There are masses and masses of tourists and British people that come to London to see it. They are popular.
But are they not here to gloat because they keep hearing about the royal family? They keep all of these tourists. They've heard about Prince Charles and how he was cheating on a horse, Camilla. We've heard, and we've heard.
That's a donkey.
Oh, there's a donkey on there. My apologies. And we've heard. About about Harry, and they come here because they love Harry, but they dislove his family and what they've done. But they're just coming here to look because they've heard, not because they love. No comment?
People love the Queen. Hordes of British citizens loved the Queen. When she passed away, hordes of people were in floods of tears. People felt upset. I think you probably felt upset. I felt upset.
But were they genuine? Let me turn the volume down slightly because it's just. But the question I want to ask you, Steve, were they genuinely upset?
Yes.
I don't believe they were.
Genuinely in tears. People genuinely felt heartbroken when she passed away because they knew what a great individual she was.
All right,
God save us from the King.
For such a long period of time.
We will be serving him.
I think we'll have to talk about reform later.
We'll talk about it later.
The videos are coming, guys. Just give us a moment. The videos will be here with you.
So for those of you who are watching, we are going to be shutting down at 1 p.m. because it's Speaker's Corner. So 1 p.m. we're going for me to go to Speaker's Corner, and we will be live between 2 and 5. And when we do go live at 3 p.m, I will be making a disclosure in regards to Hatun Tash, because Hatun has been in contact with StreetMic, and I have some information.
Okay, we have an announcement as well.
Pass on. So let's listen to the announcement. But we are shutting down at 1
It's kind of symbolic of the
p.m.
monarchy, which is
to make our way to Speaker's Corner.
It's sort of fossilised remains, should be in the museum along with all the other dinosaurs. And we have a 15-foot tall T-Rex representing that monarchy, which will be here. And it should have been here already, but we have a slight technical hitch. Some of it is here, but it will be here a bit later on. So if you've got the leaflet saying it's here by 12:30, it is running late.
So if you hold that, Mum.
That's dinosaurs for you, they can't be relied on. But we will be...
So, good afternoon. Can you introduce yourself? I said, go back a bit. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Sandra Simkin.
So, Sandra, I'm led to believe you love King Charles because he's such a wonderful, great man. Absolutely not.
I've been a Republican since the age of 17, and I'm 82 now.
So, why is it that you dislike the royal family? Why do you dislike them so much? Why do you want to see them disbanded? Isn't King Charles a great role model in how he cheated on his wife?
I think it's a totally unnecessary institution, quite frankly.
Benjamin Zephaniah, who very sadly died last year,
It doesn't
who was
serve any purpose
a great poet and campaigner and activist, and a huge supporter of the public.
I think how they live their life is immaterial. I just don't think we need...
Which half do we have? The body or the
But
head?
if you look at the amount of, for example, when the late Queen died last year, look at the streets of London. It was full of people who were interested in the royal family. When the King was coronated last year, billions around the world were watching, so that's evidence that the royal family are loved throughout the world.
Well, I think the late Queen was respected because as a person, she never ever gave a personal opinion about anything. And I think she was respected for that, but you can't say the same thing about Charles. He is pushing his ideas and things ever since he was a young prince.
So who would you, if we had a republic, who would you like to see as the president? Would you like to see George Galloway? Would you like to see Keir Starmer? Would you like to see Ritchie? Who would you like on the top?
I wouldn't like any of those, obviously. I think an elected president, like an elected mayor, I think is just putting too much power in one person's hands.
There's going to be a lot more Labour MPs in Parliament, and we think we're going to be able to build a pretty solid base support in Parliament after that election.
A president who is perhaps an ex-diplomat, somebody who is neutral and not political. Like they have in Portugal.
Over here, this tent is all about last year,
someone with political
about the
power.
coronation, the protests, and of course the arrest.
Political power should be returned to the people.
We are still, if you are wondering, we are still in the middle of suing the Metropolitan Police for unlawful
come from privileged backgrounds.
I hear you. Anyway, thank you very much, my darling.
It might take as long as getting us the monarchy, but we will win.
I've seen a sign there that says "Stop the rain, it's time" with an umbrella, and it's made me think of a song. So I want you guys to sing it with me. And it's a new song in my head. It goes like this: I can't stand the rain of the Windsors. It's time to end the monarchy. So I want you to sing it with me. I can't stand the rain of the Windsors. It's time to end the monarchy. I can't stand the rain of the Windsors. It's time to end the monarchy. There we go. Okay, our next speaker is Mr. Norman Baker.
Hello. What's it like being a substitute for a dinosaur? I don't know. Anyway, look, a lot of people were saying how lucky we are to have such a fabulously talented royal family in this country. How do we know they're talented? Because of all the honours they've been given. I mean, Kate, last week before, was given the honour of Companion of Honour. A rare award to be given for specialising in the arts, in science, showing extraordinary ability and making a real mark. And obviously Kate has done that, has she not? And then you've got Camilla, who's become the Grand Master of the Order of the British Empire. You know the British Empire, don't you? It's South Georgia, Pitcairn Island and Rockall. You've got Prince William, who's now become Order of the Bath, whatever that is. I'm sure it's very worthwhile having. And it's not just outstanding achievements that the monarchy celebrates, it's also extraordinary bravery. King Charles has got 31 medals, at least, I've lost count, at least 31 medals. What extraordinary bravery he must have shown to achieve all these medals. He is a 5-star general in the army, a 5-star air marshal in the Air Force, a 5-star admiral in the Navy. Well, it's only fair because he did captain a coastal minesweeper several decades ago for a short period. And he's only crashed a plane once, so that's fair enough, isn't it? You may ask where all these medals come from. They come from themselves, because the royal family is so arrogant and self-serving, they give themselves medals. That's why they get them. I think it's quite a good idea. I'm going to give myself a medal as most honourable keeper of the belfry. Sounds nice, doesn't it? I've done nothing to deserve it, mind you, but that doesn't stop the royal family giving themselves medals. They do it all the time. But what an absurd royal family we have. I mean, monarchies generally are a bit absurd, but this one's particularly absurd. It's the last imperial monarchy in Europe. Other monarchies have at least tried to adapt to the democratic system within which they live. The King of Norway, for example, had to take an oath of allegiance to the Norwegian constitution before he can take his throne. Over here in this country, we are still subjects, not citizens, and we have to take an oath to them. As a member of Parliament for 18 years, I wasn't able to take my seat in the Commons until I'd taken an oath of allegiance to the unelected head of state. What a curious arrangement for a democracy to operate. Absurd, you might say. And let us say in the theoretical world we have a general election and a political party stands on the platform of abolishing the monarchy and they secured a majority of seats in the House of Commons. They all then, members of that party committed to abolition, have to take an oath of allegiance to the unelected head of state, notwithstanding their manifesto, which they were elected, calls for its abolition. That's British democracy for you. I've also, Greg made the point earlier on about tourism. Whenever I go on television and radio programmes about the monarchy, I'm told that they're wonderful for tourism. Look at all these people who are coming here to see the royal family. I don't know if you know what the most popular palace in Europe is for visitors. It's, thank you, the Palace of Versailles. And the French abolished their monarchy in 1848. So I think probably that argument doesn't stand up very well. Now, this is also not just a monarchy that gives itself medals, it's a monarchy that sorts the law out for itself. You better be aware of this. It's in my book, by the way, a quick advert for my book, which is called, And What Do You Do? Because that's what the royal family asks you when you meet them. What do they do? I think it might be more appropriate to ask. If you don't answer the question satisfactorily, the second question is, have you come far? To which the answer should be quite far. And that's the end of the conversation you have with them. But the perks the royal family gets are not simply the numerous palaces, the acres and acres of roofs which they have in this country, which we pay for, by the way. We pay for it all. but it's also the ability to change the law. Now, you may not be aware of this, but there's something called King's Consent, and something even more dubious called Prince's Consent that applies to the Prince of Wales. And when legislation is brought forward which affects their private interests, then they are consulted on that legislation before Parliament sees it. And changes are made to the legislation by the government to accommodate the wishes of the royal family, of the King and the Prince of Wales. Now, we're told that nothing much changes, but what happens is the telephone conversations, the bills, potential bills change, and then when it's been changed to satisfy the royal family, it's then sent formally to the palace, who then sign it off. And the argument then is, well, they haven't changed anything. No, because they did all the telephone conversations between the Cabinet Office and the palace beforehand. And they exempt themselves from legislation. Nobody else can do that. It'd be quite nice to do that, wouldn't it? Exempt yourself from particular bits of legislation you don't like. For example, the Animal Welfare Act was passing through Parliament when I was a member there. The Animal Welfare Act gives the right of the RSPCA to go onto private land where they believe an animal welfare offence has been committed. But, as a consequence of pressure from the palace, private royal lands are excluded. So even if the RSPCA believes, there's no reason to think that it's true, but if it believes that cruelty to animals is taking place on royal land, they cannot enter it. The list of exemptions from legislation is extraordinary. The King and the Prince of Wales have been exempted from the terms of the Nuclear Explosions Act. So presumably, William can get his chemistry set out with the sure knowledge that he won't be prosecuted for setting off a nuclear bomb. This is absurd. Why do they want exemption from these sorts of things? So that's one aspect that is quite wrong, because it all relates to the fact that the royal family has not changed and still operates as it did hundreds of years ago in this country. But the most egregious aspect of the whole thing, apart from the lack of democratic accountability, is the finance. We have my friend from Holland. I won't defend the Dutch royal family, but what I would say is they're a lot cheaper than the British royal family. They are. Everybody's cheaper than the British royal family. The civil list, which used to exist, which funded the royal family, in 2011 was 7.9 million from the public purse. The sovereign grant which replaced it this year gave the royals £85 million. That's a nice bit of inflation for you over those years. And why has it gone up so much? Because George Osborne, the Chancellor, a bit of an idiot, I'm afraid, in this regard, decided to link the royal finances with the income from the Crown Estates. And the Crown Estates is a property company, and which always produces returns above the rate of inflation. And the Crown Estates owns, for example, the seabed around this country. So all these wind farms which are going up around Britain to give us clean energy, which I support, all these wind farms, the Crown Estates money comes in, and a quarter of it goes to the royal family. A quarter of the money that should go to the taxpayer into the treasury is going straight to one of the richest families in the country, who've done nothing to deserve it whatsoever. And it's not simply the money in the Crown Estates that goes to the royal family. It's not simply the sovereign grant. It's exemptions from taxation, the exemption from inheritance tax. No inheritance tax was paid on the private possessions of the Queen, which were handed over to Charles. Not the public ones. I'm not talking about Buckingham Palace. I'm talking about the private possessions. The string of racehorses, the £100 million stamp collection, the paintings, the artworks. No inheritance tax was paid on that, and no inheritance tax was paid when the Queen Mother died and handed her possessions to the Queen. Why should the royal family be exempt from inheritance tax in this country when nobody else is? Then you look at the duchies, the Duchy of Cornwall and the Duchy of Lancaster, which are royal slush funds. That's what they are, royal slush funds. those duchies should have been handed along with the rest of the crown properties to the government in 1760. The only reason they weren't is because they were valueless at that time. The Duchy of Lancaster, I think it was that one, was estimated to produce a return for the monarch of less than £1 that year, so they were ignored. They are now multi-million pound operations that provide a £20 million plus slush fund income for the King, the Duchy of Lancaster, and a slush fund for the Duchy of Cornwall for Prince of Wales. Now, Prince of Wales argues, and Charles argues very carefully and very assiduously, that the Duchy of Cornwall is so-called private estate. It's not public at all, it's a private estate. Notwithstanding, it's been held responsible for particular infringements by people like the Environment Agency, which could only apply to public-owned land. But if it's a private estate, why are they paying no capital gains tax? Why are they paying no taxes that private estates pay, which are other private estates in this country? They want it both ways. They want all the benefits of privacy and secrecy, and they also want the exemption from tax that would apply to a public arena. That is what they do. They maximise their income at our expense. You know, the royal family was worth nothing in 1760. That's why George III came to an agreement with the Parliament of the day. Now they are worth billions and billions and billions. Where does that money come from? It's not come from their own endeavours. It hasn't been winning in a horse race, has it? It's come from the public purse. It's come from exemptions from taxation. It's come from overseas countries that have exploited. That's where it's come from. It is dirty money. It should not belong to them. Now, you might have seen that Charles are going to charge you to go on to Balmoral. £100 a time, I think, to go and see a couple of rooms. You should have done the same with the council.
So for those of you who are watching, we're now going to be signing off as I make my way towards Speaker's Corner. So at 3 p.m. I'll be making an announcement about Hatton, because Hatton has been in contact.
Why are these estates
I'm shutting down now. I did say 1 p.m. I don't do black man time. It's now.
The answer is
1 minute past, so all I can say
on behalf of Queen Victoria went to the government of the day and said, we haven't got any money, we're desperately short of money, you must increase the amount of money that comes from the ordinary person in the street and give it to us. That's what you have to do. Otherwise we can't carry out our duties. Nothing ever carried them out anyway properly in those days, or now. But that's what they said. So the government of the day said, okay, Your Honour, your King, the monarch, you must have what you want. And they gave them a huge amount of money in order to make up the shortfall which they'd been told existed. That shortfall didn't exist at all. The money that was given by Parliament to Prince Albert and Queen Victoria was used not for them to carry out their duties, but to buy Balmoral and Sandringham and Osborne House in the Isle of Wight. There's a phrase really for when you take money from the public purse and use it for the wrong reasons, and I know that